You're listening to the Twisted Sisters podcast with Allie, a fiery realtor queen, and Samantha, a gypsy wandering her way through life while navigating being a rock star woman with ADHD. Both are former teen moms of two who have faced challenging adversities. They're here to break stereotypes, get real with you about the messiness of life, and remind you that we're all just a little twisted.
So, talking about Lorelai brings, how is it raising two strong women personalities?
Oh, it's a joy. It's a joy. It's been great. It's very character building. It's developed a lot.
Why are you laughing while saying all of this?
It has been a joy, actually. It's been hard at times, but it's a joy.
I think it's been a joy, but I don't think that you started out as strong-willed as you are now.
And Sam didn't really start out that way either. I mean, even when she was little, she was like, my mom used to call her my tumor because she was like stuck to me all the time.
Sure.
I'm like, please, just, and now I can't get her to hug me.
Did you guys find out what you were having, or was it a surprise?
Well, in those days, the ultrasounds were like, is that a leg? I think that might be a head.
Wait,
is that the head?
A baby in there?
I never knew any of my kids because you couldn't tell. No.
I didn't know.
But honestly, being on my own, I really remember this so clear. They're just like, God, I need a girl. Like, I need a girl. I can't do a boy. This was too hard. I don't want another boy. I need a girl. And I even had a girl name picked out and no boy name, because if it wasn't a girl, I don't know what we were going to do. It was going to be a boy named Samantha.
Samuel.
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, I just knew I wanted a girl.
Well, then your soul was telling you were having a girl.
It was,
right?
Yeah.
God blessed you then.
And she wanted to come. I was in labor 2 months before I actually had her. Off and on.
Wow.
I mean, she just, like, my son wouldn't come out, and my daughter wanted to come out, like, now. Yeah, and she was stillborn a month early.
Wow.
So, but we were home after 5-6 days, something like that, so.
Isn't that amazing that we got to stay in the hospital that long?
That's crazy.
You guys are in and out in 24 hours.
24
well, a cesarean. I had her
Sure,
cesarean.
but even cesareans, I feel like they're only there for like 2 days, now, and then they send them home.
I know.
Yeah.
So when you had Allie, what was that like? Did you guys have anybody in your rooms? What was it like delivering a baby, or us?
Well, your dad decided to show up like a few days earlier because he had nowhere to go or something. And by that time I was emotionally spent. And he was actually supposed to be staying with Jake at the apartment. And I actually he wasn't in there when you were born. He came like the next day. So that was alone. It was lonely.
Yeah.
When I came home from the hospital, I came home he was supposed to like clean the apartment. There was dishes all over the kitchen. Like it was just a disaster. I was like, yeah.
Just leave.
Exactly. That's basically what I said. Listen, I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a hard one. But you were my little peanut. Like you fit in my arms. Like you were like 6 pounds, 4 ounces. Right there. Just carried you around. That's why you were my tumor.
Yeah.
Like this all the time. And when you weren't here, I traveled to the Northern California a lot, so I put her in a backpack to go on the plane. And then when I was cleaning house, she's in my backpack. Or going to the store, she's in my backpack. So you were always like up here.
What was it like when my dad met me? What was that like?
Well, he called you sweetie pie, like sweet pea. I think he didn't know what to do. He grew up with boys, so he didn't ever have girls around. So I think plus he was in his own turmoil in life, but I think it impacted him. And you know that because of the relationship you guys had. And for whatever he could be, he was. He just wasn't able to be as much as
a partner to you.
Yeah, or even a full-on 24/7 father.
He couldn't even take care of himself.
No, he couldn't. He could not. So, I mean, I remember it being sweet to watch that. I mean, you could see moments of probably regret, but it was more like, I wish I had this, but I know I can't have this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was nothing about you or Jake or even me. It was really about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Kathy Coffee?
Allie's dad was involved. When I had moved into my first own apartment while I was dating him. I dated her dad for like 5 years.
Where did you guys meet?
We met at a nightclub. He was security and I was serving, bartending in Apple Valley. And he had a full-time day job during the week. He had been divorced. He had a young daughter when I met him. He was nothing like my normal that I would pick, it seemed like. We called him Flannel Man, which wasn't really my cup of tea per se.
What was your cup of tea back then?
I think
Man.
more bad boy. Right?
Leather Man.
Harley,
Not
bad
flannel
boy.
Well, you were with your high school sweetheart, and he was very
preppy and studious, but very into cars and four-wheeling and all of that. But Al was, 6'5", wore flannels, cowboy boots, crew cut. I mean, nothing like I would normally pick.
Right.
Yeah.
But we became friends first and then ended up dating, and we partied hard. We had a lot of fun. We were all young. We partied with everybody that worked at the club. You know what I mean? You become that family and you're young, and we had a lot of fun. And then I was living in a townhouse with one of the girls that I worked with there. And then I finally got my own apartment, like the upstairs, downstairs apartment. Thought I was just going to be the hot young girl in my own pad. The like mauve carpeting and, all that stuff. My mom helped me decorate it, and I was so excited. And I was there like a month, and I found out I was pregnant. So we had our turmoil at that point because I started to see the substance abuse with alcohol. I'm pregnant now. I'm not out partying. I'm planning a family, and he's gone 24/7. Not come home for days.
Yeah.
So I started to see the red flags, but you're trying to do the right thing. My father also had substance abuse, and so I always told myself that I wasn't going to put myself in that situation like I saw with my mother struggling. And so the red flags went up, and I remember I was 8 months pregnant, and we were still together, and I was still trying to see if this was going to work. And I fell down the flight of stairs at my apartment.
Oh, man.
By myself. Of course, I was in 5-inch heels and some big...
And 8 months pregnant.
And fell down. Fell down on my back head first. Really scared me. Called my parents. My father came, which is rare. I mean, I was really close with my mother, but my father was very protective of me, it seemed like, during that. Came, and he said, "Where is Al?" And I'm like, well, here's all the numbers to the bars that he hangs out. And my dad's face was like, are you kidding me, Kathy? Like, girl, you got to start reevaluating some decisions.
Was that hard? Was that hard
words.
to admit that he wasn't there and to admit that?
I don't think it was hard for me to admit it, just because I've seen the substance abuse. My brother, my father.
Yeah.
It's all you know what I mean? I see how that affects your personal life and how they just spiral down. It's super sad. And I'm the caregiver. I'm the fixer. I'm going to make everything better. So I think that I was not living in reality, and maybe growing up and seeing that so much that it does become more normal to you.
Yeah.
Versus then.
And comfortable, kind of.
Yeah.
Because it's
like,
all you
that's
know.
what you know.
Just life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true.
So he did. We ended up. Allie was fine, obviously.
For the most part.
She came out wearing heels.
Actually,
She came out in a half top and heels.
Yeah.
That's fine. But yeah, he was in the birth with her, just him and I.
Yeah.
And we brought her home to the apartment. And then my push present, which really wasn't prevalent back then, but now it is, he bought me a trailer. Aren't I a lucky girl?
Wow.
So I was leaving my loft mauve apartment for a trailer. It wasn't even a double wide. It's a trailer. And my mom and dad bought me a washer and dryer, I was so thankful. And I moved into my apartment, into my trailer. And I wallpapered it and did anything I could to make it funky. And Al went to work, and Al proceeded to go to happy hour, and Al proceeded to live his life. And I proceeded to raise a very colicky, unhappy little baby girl by myself. And so by about a year, I figured it out and was out.
Yeah.
And my mom came and moved me
I was
with
going to
me.
say, I remember Grandma saying,
Me and Fran.
What happened? I remember she saying, well, you messed with the Hulk or
Yeah.
something because he was such a big man.
Yeah, Al didn't have a temper
No.
at all, and I would go linear because you're trying to raise a baby and
Yeah.
she's gone all the time. And so I have a temper, and I would go linear when he would come home. And one day I went linear, and I was sitting on the bed, and he picked the whole mattress up and flipped me off the bed. And I called my mother, like, can you believe? And she said, Kathy, you've been pushing King Kong for about a year. And I think King Kong pushed you back. And I said, okay, you're right. And that was kind of my clue, like, I gotta get out of here. This isn't good. Right. She deserves better. I deserve better.
With
he
postpartum
deserves
at all?
better. I don't think that I did. I think that, and maybe I could have, I don't remember that. I just know that every day at 2:20, I would call my mom, and I would lay her. She never napped, ever. And so my mom, I would sit out on the front stoop of the trailer, and I would talk to my mother for 25 minutes, and my mom would talk me through it while she screamed.
Oh. Because you have nobody to hand.
I
I know
know
that.
feeling.
I went through that with
I
her
know that
too.
with Lorelai. Lorelai
Yeah.
was like that too, and it was just, it's exhausting
Yeah.
when you don't have that. I mean, granted, I had you guys, but Matt was one of the only people that could really calm her down, other than me and Papa. Really, I mean, but it was hard. It's exhausting, and it's you lose your mind.
Yeah.
You literally lose.
I just
your mind.
remember laying you down because Jake had a room, and then you and I shared a room, and her. In fact, the 2 days before I had her, I wallpapered the wall. So I appreciate wallpaper.
You guys were nesting.
Yep.
I would put her in the room because I tried to feed her, change her, do everything, nothing, put her in the room. I would put a towel by the door just so I could not hear it for a minute. Just had to walk away for like 15 minutes, and she just cried. And then I'd go in and pick her up, and she'd still cry. And that was about 6 months. And then around the 6 to 8 month, you got more. You went in the backpack, and so then you were with me all the time.
Identical to Allie too. As soon as she could sit up, happiest baby I ever raised, and she was super happy.
Yeah, and that might have been some of
now
it.
you nap all the time.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. You sleep. You're a sleeper. You're a sleeper.
Because you never slept when you were a baby.
Oh, I like naps. I'm a napper.
I can't nap, but I can sleep in. That's why I get so mad at people
Not me.
who can nap. Like,
I think it is funny on our vacations. We do. I pass out. She works and or showers or just something, and I take a nap, and then I'm up at 8 boop or 7:30, and she's trying to be quiet, but a little bit different
for sure.
Did you breastfeed?
I tried a little bit, but it was hard being the only parent too, and to do that and never have. I mean, literally, I would go in the shower sometimes and just stand in the shower just to not hear anybody else.
And you were away from your family, so I mean,
yes, my family all lived in Northern California, and I was in San Diego.
You really just had friends that you had made in that area, which you'd only been friends with for not even a year.
Well,
really.
a couple years, 3 years, 4 years, some of them.
I mean,
but
still,
nothing much. Aunt Kathy was the only one who lived down there.
Which Aunt Kathy?
Aunt Kathy.
Oh, Poppy's sister.
Yeah, Aunt Kathy. Do we have another Aunt Kathy? I'm just checking because
I had to think about that.
For some reason, I was thinking Aunt Tina.
Well, I'm sure we only have one Aunt Tina also.
I was just thinking,
There's just all the Kathys.
Did your
we have
grandma
500
name
Kathys.
both of them
So
Kathy?
my dad's.
That's where I got so.
I know
it is confusing.
my dad's sister's name was
Which
Kathy also.
Wow.
So
Power to the Kathys,
I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Raising some great young ladies over here.
I listened to your stories and I'm just blown away because I know how hard it was for me just with Lorelai, but I still had an amazing support system, and even with Hayden too.
I had my mom. I mean, she couldn't drive to me,
still,
but I had my mom to call.
You're
at least.
still just it's not
hard.
easy. It's still not easy.
Well, it's hard, and you think that you're old at 23, and then when I look back to what I was doing at 23.
Yeah.
But I look back and I'm still kind of grateful that I did a lot of that at such a young age. I really enjoy who I am now.
That's
I'm glad that I'm not doing that at 35, learning all that. It's kind of nice to have done all that. And granted, I did it all over again, but it's different with your second. You already know what's going on.
Yeah.
But with your first, watching some of my friends go through that, in the middle of their lives.
Well, and just having the bond, like mine and my mom's bond is like no other bond, because I felt like I held on to you and you held on to me.
Well, Allie was my blessing, and I mean, I may have not planned her. I wasn't married, but I was so excited to be a mom. And I think that it was just finally not something that I can take care of, because I am such a caregiver, that is actually going to grow to be part of me and not, you know what I mean? And other entities that I'm trying to help and fix and do.
Yeah.
Like, I was very, very excited. I would change things, obviously, that her dad and I could be together, and that it would have worked out wonderfully for her.
Yeah.
No, you never want your children to go through, you know, he kind of just went away. I mean, he's still kind of away. You know what I mean? And that affected her.
Yeah.
We tried to build it through the years. So you certainly don't wish that upon, but
I think we both are very grateful for our stepfathers, though, too.
Did she teach me how to be an adult? Yes, she did. Did she give me a straight, narrow, like, you got to work, you got to get your shit together, you're not a kid anymore, and let's go. Yes. Yeah. And I think that that's what I needed, and that's kind of the path that I wanted, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it was hard to be a single mom, but it was better to be a single mom than it would have been to stay married in a really dysfunctional relationship.
No.
I think that would have been really devastating overall.
Yes.
Then I didn't have to even though I felt responsible for certain things, I wasn't responsible for him.
Yes.
And what he did. He had to be responsible. And mind you, I would fill in the gap a lot. I would buy presents, and I would do things just because I wanted them to feel loved.
Yeah.
It wasn't about him, but I wouldn't change that, no, because it would have been so dysfunctional.
Let's just say you have that fork in the road almost, right? And it's like, I can go down this route, but eventually he's going to bring me down. Or I can go this other route, and hopefully there's some light at the
Which is, we were in that. When he went in the military, I was like, well, oh, yay, we're going on this road. We're actually going to make this happen. And it was just a detour, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's Kevin.
Yeah. So then you guys both met the men that you are with now.
Yeah.
And so how long I'll let you guys talk about your stories. I won't even get into it.
Go ahead.
Kevin and I will be married 31 years in June. And 31 years feels so long, so much life. And we were young. He's 6 years younger than me.
So how old were you guys when you got married?
I was 29 and he was 24. So, and I turned 30 right after that. He had just turned 24.
But
never had kids, never had a one girlfriend. Grew up with boys. I don't know what we were thinking.
But what was he doing in California?
So he grew up in Minnesota, but he came into the cellular industry right at that time. And so then he was working for a independently owned company, and then I don't know, there's a whole story in that, and maybe someday you guys will do the fathers. But he ended up in Orange County, working in Orange County, and decided to live in North County, San Diego, which is Oceanside, is where I was. And we were both singles, and we started doing life together at the church we were at. And that's how we met. We were friends for like a good year before all of a sudden one day he was leaving for Minnesota at Christmas and came by before he left and he would do stuff with the kids and all of us. We were all lots of people. We would do things. And the kids all had presents, and he bought me these floral pants. I mean, okay, this is like 1990, 91-ish. Floral pants, floral jacket, really cool. And that's really cool. Now I look back and go, floral, because his mom likes floral. I was shocked that he bought me clothes. Like, my ex-husband bought me like gray sweats once, for Christmas. After he'd gone shopping for 2 days, that kind of stuff. But anyway.
Never shopping.
Yeah. I'm going to the store. I'll be back in an hour. So we went to the door to say goodbye, and all of a sudden he turned around like he was going to kiss me, and I went, like, what? Like, so for a week it was like, what the heck was that?
Because then he left for Minnesota.
And he leaves for Minnesota. I'm like, what the heck was that?
Movie.
What the heck was that? Then he comes back and he calls. He says, hey, you want to go to McDonald's for lunch? I'm like, okay.
Did you wear your floral suit?
I probably did wear my floral stuff and my like cobalt blue shirt underneath. We took the kids to McDonald's. He's like, I don't know what that was. I go, I don't either. And he goes, but I think it might be something. And I went, okay. And he goes, you want to like kind of date? And I go, okay. So we're like 27 and 28. I was like 28, almost 29.
He's 23.
He's 23 and we're like, okay, let's date.
Wow.
And we didn't never. So, it is really cool because I feel like the Lord knew what I needed. We only dated in couples, like double dated. We didn't put ourselves, he didn't know, but I knew what that would get us in trouble with probably. And he kind of did. And we just decided we weren't going to do that.
You had so much hurt and so much.
We were going to build
stuff
on
in
the
that.
heart and nothing
I know,
physical.
and you had already lived this whole
had.
adult life to me.
Totally.
Like when I'm thinking you're only 28 and you've already been through what you've been through.
This
it's
whole
like,
life.
wow.
I
Okay.
know. And so that was in December, and we started dating exclusively in February. He asked me to marry him in March, and we got married in June.
Jeez.
And it is so cool to say we stayed pure. When we went on our honeymoon, it was nothing I'd ever experienced before. So it was for both of us. It was pretty special. And we hit some rough roads. In this 30 years, we've had some rough roads, but those times kind of take you back to, wait a minute, this is really something special that we started all this on. So, and now here we
So
are.
he
awesome.
never, you guys never had children together?
No, we did
So-
not. In fact, after we got married, I had my tubes tied after Samantha. I was like, tie my tubes. Well, we'll give you some time to think about it. No, tie my tubes. It's just like, and I kind of regret that because it was all an emotional,
Yes, decision.
But we were going to have my tubes untied. We were seeing a doctor and stuff. And then I started having some female issues and stuff. And within a year, I had a hysterectomy.
Wow.
And so and which was around the same time that we actually ended up, we hit a lot of big old bumps in the road the first 2 years of our marriage, which we ended up going apart. And that's a whole story in itself. But it was a lot of emotional stuff. And it was devastating. It was devastating for him. It was devastating for me. And it was rough. And we didn't know how to take care of each other at that time.
Because you loved each other, but you didn't have the tools.
No.
Order
Emotionally.
to make-
Yeah.
And
And I felt like not only was I having this hysterectomy and going through all this pain for over a year of trying to deal with all this stuff, but then he was worried about not having kids, which I totally understand that now. But at the time, I'm like, you don't love me enough, and, it was just this whole thing.
And
And
men don't really get their frontal cortex till 26.
yeah, there you go. That's what happened. Yeah. So
it's so crazy because I don't remember meeting him. Like, I remember him just being a part of our lives.
yeah.
So and I'm sure that was
Because you were like
probably
only
came from
not even
the-
2 when he came into the picture.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because we lived in Oceanside, and that whole first year was just, it was like we were all part of the singles. We had some kids. Some of the singles had kids, some didn't, and some of them were like teenager, young adults, and so it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. I don't think I ever, but I remember like when you guys, I would say I more remember when you got remarried that second time.
Yeah.
That was more of I think I understood what was actually going on.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I ever really considered him dad. Like, I don't think it was ever like, this is your stepdad, this is your
Right.
dad. It was such a weird concept, but it wasn't until then that I realized like, oh, you guys are married, and
Yeah.
I understood the concept of this is my stepdad and this is my, and it was
Yeah.
Kevin. He's always just been Kevin. And so like part of me looking back now wishes like it would have created more of a habit to call him dad, but I didn't because I had my dad was still in the picture. But it was just it was a very different relationship.
Because it started, he was Kevin.
Yeah, and it was just Kevin.
And that's just a name
Yeah.
to me.
And
But he knows, like,
you're
it's
looking at your dad like a unicorn.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, and like I look back and I think, what 26-year-old would find a woman
24-year-old.
24-year-old.
Yeah.
23.
23 with a woman with three, like that.
3 kids.
I know.
That is like,
And
he
I was
seriously
not really
probably-
hot, you
well,
know?
Yeah,
I
you
wasn't
were.
like
She was
super
like
hot.
tits on a stick.
Stop it.
She was just tiny with
Yeah.
these things. She was hot. And
I
this
hid
long
them,
red
though.
hair,
I was a
stunning.
Christian now, and I
She
had
was
to dress
stunning.
very conservative.
But it didn't matter because you just were.
I don't know
you were
how we
so
fell in love. I
stunning.
know. I think about that often. I'm like, how did we even like? Yeah, what 23-year-old goes? I'm going to marry this lady who has
you
3
were-
But
kids
that's love.
and,
like,
and 2 ex-husbands in the picture. Let's just do that. Yeah.
I don't know. That's probably why I'm still single. Because I'm like, if this man can do all this, and like I still have yet to. I've never seen that man check out another woman. I have never seen him.
That's true.
Like Victoria's Secret commercial comes on, the guy walks out of the room.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he has so much respect,
Yeah.
so much just love. Like he is the epitome of like a true just
Gentleman.
And
because of his beliefs, because of who he is chosen to be.
Yeah.
And
I want to say that your dad was a womanizer. You know, I mean, in Randy, I mean, I'd never had any guy in my life who wasn't a womanizer kind of guy. You know what, like looking at pretty women or whatever like that. And it's true, Kevin, I've never, ever, ever had a thought like, you know, even in our rough times of like, oh, what if he found somebody else, or what if he's looking, or you know, it's just not that.
No,
it's just not
never.
who he is. It would never happen.
And that's a nice security feeling to have.
Yeah, it is, because I never had that, and then I didn't even see what a gift that was. And sometimes I still forget that that's a huge gift.
That is a huge gift.
It's a huge gift.
Yes.
Huge gift.
So thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And we will just blame that on why I'm still single and just a mess. No, I'm just kidding.
Because you can't find
Not a
a
mess.
good
I'm
guy
not
like
looking.
Kevin. I know.
So what brought you to Minnesota then?
Oh my gosh. So we got married in 91, split up, got remarried in 95. Okay. So he started working on me. Let's move to Minnesota. I'm like, I'm never moving to Minnesota. And then finally.
Where is Minnesota?
Yeah. No, I'd been here a few times, and I just was like.
Well, let's just say how dramatic it was when we would come here, because we came during the winter.
Oh, it was just stupid.
We never
I don't know
saw
why we ever did that.
Snow or bad weather.
No.
And like the trips out here were so dramatic. It was like blizzards and storms. And
and we'd have to
chains
drive it all in one shot. In fact, one time we were driving here and we hit Kansas City, and it'd been overnight driving, and I said, if you don't pull this truck over right now, I'm jumping. I mean, I'm serious. I am jumping. Like tears. I'm like, you know, like this. And he goes, we're only 6 hours away. I go, if you want me to meet your parents like this, keep driving. We pulled over. We got a hotel. And I looked at everybody and said, everybody go pee, because once you're done in there, I'm going to the bathroom and I don't know when I'm coming out. And I just ran a hot tub. I mean, it was like, that was the last trip we ever made like that. If, you know, we like planned it, we'd stay halfway through. Yes. But no, my husband's like, gotta get there. He's still like that. And I just go, no. I don't even get in the car.
My mother can relate to
I can relate to that a lot.
I remember that moment though. I thought, I really am going to open this car and jump. Like, my hand is going for the handle right now.
Tuck and roll. Just tuck and roll. It's going to be fine.
And it wasn't like you were going to like Minneapolis or even Burnsville for that matter. It was Morristown.
Well, yeah.
What was the population then?
Oh, it's still like 800 or...
Faribault, yeah.
Well, they lived out in the country in Faribault, but like I think Morristown's maybe 750. I don't know.
I just remember thinking, where are
Yeah.
Are there Amish people?
Yes.
And buggy.
Do they have electricity?
Where's the grocery store? And then it was like...
And they didn't have a wood stove. So, I mean, like, it was super dramatic of, like, I'm like, wait, like...
I know, we would take day trips to Mankato.
Ooh.
Now it's like, Mankato.
You definitely can't take
or
the
Madison
Cali
Lake.
girl. You
I
can't
know this
take the
little store
Cali
in Madison
girl.
Lake we can shop for, you know, little figurines.
Yeah, wool. Yeah, Faribault's famous for their wool.
Yeah.
Lanterns.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it is funny. You can't take the Cali girl. I think that's still in us. The beach and all the good stuff.
Yeah, I enjoy visiting California.
Here or California, Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, but anyway, how'd we end up here? Kevin tried to move us in 97 and everything went awry and it was not good. And then I said, okay, Lord, if I'm going to move to Minnesota, I have to know that it is you and not Kevin. And the next year that happened.
Great.